I'm Jenna. I'm 29, and right now I'm staring at my phone in a hotel room in New York, looking at photos my brother's wife just sent me. She's been in what she thinks is my apartment for less than 3 hours, and she's already moved the couch, cleared out my coffee table, and made space for what looks like a pack of kids' toys scattered everywhere. The message attached to the pictures was short and direct. You've been selfish for too long. Now it's time for you to contribute. We're moving in for a few weeks. No question, no discussion, just a statement that my place was now theirs. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city in the comments and, if you've ever felt like your own family treats your boundaries like suggestions, hit that like button and subscribe. You're definitely going to want to stick around for what happened when the real owner came home. The thing is, I've been labeled selfish my whole life. It started when I was 14 and wouldn't let Brooke borrow my savings from my part-time job to cover her credit card bill. Wanting to keep money I'd earned myself was apparently selfish. When I was 18 and chose a college across the state instead of staying local to help with family stuff, that was selfish too. When I finally got my own apartment in Miami after years of grinding as an event planner and didn't offer it as a backup crash pad, well, you know what they called that. But what my family never got was that I wasn't selfish. I was done being the reliable one who always picked up the pieces. Every time I helped Brooke, every time I said yes to one of her emergencies, it turned into months of her staying longer, using more, expecting more. One weekend became one small loan, became another bigger one the next month. The pattern never changed. Brooke would hit a rough patch usually after another breakup or money mess, and the whole family would circle around her because she had children, because she was going through a lot, because she was family. Meanwhile, I was the one with the steady job, the good credit, the extra space, so obviously I could sacrifice a little more. Except at 29, I was tired of being everyone's safety net, especially Brooke's. Right now, I'm 26 days into a month-long contract in New York, coordinating a massive corporate conference. The distance from Miami family drama felt like a bonus until these photos showed up. Brooke's 10-year-old son Ethan and 8-year-old daughter Peyton used to be sweet kids when they actually heard the word no once in a while. But years of Brooke's anything-goes parenting had turned them into little experts at testing limits, convinced that rules were optional and other people's stuff was fair game. My phone buzzed again. Another photo. This one showed Peyton's toys spread across my bedroom floor. Their bedroom now, apparently. Then a follow-up text from Brooke. Ethan and Peyton are thrilled with their new space. Thanks for being so understanding. Understanding. That's what she called assuming she could just move in without asking. I put the phone down and looked out at the New York skyline. Part of me wanted to laugh at how predictable this was. The other part knew exactly what came next. Phone calls from Mom, from Travis Guilt, about family coming first, about the children needing stability. But here's what none of them knew yet. I wasn't coming back to that apartment. I'd ended the lease 5 weeks ago, found a better place closer to the beach, and quietly moved everything out before this trip. I hadn't told anyone because I knew exactly how it would go. There would be lectures about how I should have thought about Brooke's situation, how selfish it was to make big changes without family input, so I just didn't mention it. My phone rang. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. She called again immediately. Third time I answered. Jenna, Brooke told us everything. That poor girl had to use the spare key because you weren't responding. Spare key. The one I'd left with Mr. Harrison next door for real emergencies. Mom, she can't just move in without asking. She texted you yesterday. She has Ethan and Peyton with her, Jenna. You know how hard it's been since that breakup. Hard. That's what they always called Brooke's latest chaos. I stayed quiet. Family looks out for each other, Mom said. You could come back early if you wanted to fix this. I watched taxis crawl below my window. Fix this. That's what they thought I was for. But I wasn't fixing anything this time. because the person walking into that apartment tonight wasn't going to be in the mood for family emergencies. He was the mayor of Miami, a man who valued order, privacy, and definitely didn't appreciate finding uninvited guests in his newly rented home. Tomorrow was going to be interesting. For them, not for me. A few hours later, my phone started blowing up. I was in a meeting with the conference venue team when the first call came in. I silenced it. Then another. By the time I stepped out for a quick break, I had 7 missed calls, 3 from Mom and 4 from Travis. I knew what this was about. I called Mom back first. Jenna, finally, she said the second she picked up. Brooke told us what's going on. She had to use the emergency key because you weren't answering. Emergency key. That was one way to put it. Mom, she didn't ask me. She just told me they were moving in. She has the children, honey. Ethan and Peyton don't have anywhere else right now. Brooke's been through so much with that last breakup. You know how hard she works and things still fall apart? I did know. Everyone knew. That was the problem. Brooke had always been the one the family rallied around. When Travis married her 8 years ago, she came with a story. Tough childhood bad ex trying to make it as a single mom before they got together. My parents loved that story. They opened their arms, their wallets, their guest room over and over. And somehow, every time I set a boundary, I became the problem. When I moved out at 22 and didn't offer my new place as overflow housing during one of Brooke's rough patches, Travis called me cold. When I said no to co-signing a car loan for them, Mom cried about how I didn't understand family support. When I stopped lending money after the 3rd time, it never came back. They all agreed I'd changed, that success had made me selfish. But I hadn't changed. I'd just stopped saying yes every time someone else needed a bailout. Travis called next before I could even end the conversation with Mom. Jen, what the hell? He started no hello. Brooke's got nowhere to go. You've got that whole apartment sitting empty while you're off in New York living it up. It's not empty, I said. And I'm working. You know what I mean. She's your family too. Ethan and Peyton are your nephew and niece. You really gonna let them sleep in some motel because you want your space? I walked down the hotel hallway looking for somewhere quieter. Travis. She didn't ask. She just moved in. She shouldn't have to ask. That's what family does. That line? I'd heard it 100 times. I hung up and stared at my phone. More texts were coming in, group messages now. Brooke chiming in with how stressed she was, how the children were excited about their new home, how grateful she was that I was helping during this transition. Transition. That was another word they loved. I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. I called Mr. Harrison, the retired neighbor who'd always kept an eye on the building. He'd had my spare key for real emergencies, water leaks, package drop-offs, things like that. Jenna, dear, he answered warmly. How's New York? Busy? Mr. Harrison, has anyone been in my apartment? A pause. Well, yes. Your sister-in-law let herself in yesterday with the key. She said you knew. I closed my eyes. I didn't. Oh dear, I did wonder, but she had the kids and all their things. I assumed. It's okay. You didn't know. I took a breath. Has anyone else moved in recently? That's the other thing. The new tenant took the keys 2 days ago. Nice gentleman, very polite. Said he needed a quiet place downtown. My stomach tightened. Who is it? Mayor Ruiz. Victor Ruiz. He's renting it furnished for a few months while his house is renovated after that storm damage last year. Seemed in a hurry to settle in. Mayor Victor Ruiz. The man who ran Miami. The one who'd been on every local news channel talking about law and order, cleaning up neighborhoods, zero tolerance for violations. And tonight, he was coming home to find Brooke, Ethan, Peyton, and all their stuff spread across his new rental. I thanked Mr. Harrison and hung up. Part of me felt a twist of guilt. The children didn't deserve whatever fallout was coming, but the bigger part, the part that had been quiet for too long, felt something else. Relief. because this time I wasn't the one who was going to have to fix it. This time, the consequences weren't mine to carry. The next morning in New York, my phone exploded again. I was grabbing coffee in the hotel lobby when the notifications started pouring in. 17 missed calls overnight, dozens of texts, all from family. The first voicemail was from Brooke, time-stamped just after 10 p.m. Miami time. Her voice was high and shaky. Jenna, some man just showed up saying this is his place. He's demanding we leave right now. He's being really aggressive. The kids are scared. Call me back. Next was Travis, furious. Jen, get on the phone with whoever this guy is. Brooke says he's threatening to involve authorities if they don't pack up tonight. This is insane. Then Mom, near tears. Your sister-in-law called crying. There's a man at the apartment claiming it's his. Brooke explained it's a family emergency, but he won't listen. Jenna, you need to sort this out. I sat down at a corner table and started scrolling the texts. Brooke had sent a group message with photos, the front door open, a suited man standing there with arms crossed, Ethan and Peyton peeking from behind her legs. He's refusing to let us stay even one night, she wrote. Says he'll have the locks changed tomorrow if we're not gone. Travis replied, this guy needs to back off. Family comes first. Dad chimed in. Jenna, call us as soon as you get this. I pieced it together from the frantic messages that followed. Mayor Victor Ruiz had arrived home from a late city council meeting to find lights on kids' shoes by the door, and Brooke unloading groceries in the kitchen. He'd asked who she was calmly at first. When she explained it was her sister-in-law's place and they were staying temporarily, he'd checked his lease papers on his phone, confirmed the address, and informed her this was now his rental. Brooke tried the family emergency card. Told him about the breakup, the children needing stability, how I was out of town, but had always helped before. He listened, then repeated that they needed to leave immediately. According to her texts, he'd been firm but professional. No raised voice, no threats of physical force. Just a clear statement that unauthorized occupants would face legal action, and as a public official he couldn't have people staying without permission. That part seemed to rattle Brooke most. She kept typing about how intimidating it felt having the mayor himself telling her to get out, how Ethan and Peyton were asking why the man was mad at them. Ethan had apparently started bouncing a ball in the hallway to calm his nerves. Mayor Ruiz asked him to stop explaining it was late, and he had early meetings. Brooke called that unreasonable. By midnight, the messages showed Brooke packing in a panic while on speaker with Mom and Travis. Dad offered to drive over, but Mayor Ruiz said he'd wait until everything was removed tonight to avoid involving city resources. Brooke described him standing in the living room, watching politely as they gathered bags, making sure nothing was damaged. She texted me directly around 1 a.m. This is humiliating. He's treating us like criminals. You need to talk to him. I didn't reply. Instead, I read the play-by-play like it was happening to strangers. Travis sent a voice note raging about how the guy should have some compassion, how public servants were supposed to help people in need. Mom kept asking what I was going to do, how I could let this happen to the children. Brooke's final text before they left the building were loading the car. The kids are crying. Hope you're happy with your space now. I set the phone down and ordered breakfast. Part of me waited for the guilt to hit. It didn't. I'd spent years cleaning up messes that weren't mine. This one wasn't either. Mayor Ruiz had every right to his rented home. Brooke had taken a risk assuming she could move in. Now the risk had a consequence. By noon, more updates flooded in. They'd driven to Mom and Dad's house in the suburbs, arriving in the middle of the night. Brooke was exhausted. Ethan and Peyton confused and cranky from the late move. Travis met them there, helped unload, then stayed to talk strategy. From the group chat, it sounded like they were already planning the next steps, calls to the landlord, demands that I explain myself, maybe even finding a way to get Brooke back in if I came to my senses. I muted the thread and went to my conference sessions. The drama wasn't over. I knew that. But for the first time, I wasn't the one expected to end it. 2 days later, Brooke and the kids were settling into Mom and Dad's house. The calls hadn't stopped. Travis kept sending updates about how exhausted Brooke was, how Ethan and Peyton couldn't sleep in new rooms, how unfair the whole thing had been. Mom forwarded complaints about Mayor Ruiz being cold and inflexible. Dad stayed mostly quiet, but when he did text, it was short pleas to help find a solution. I ignored most of it until Mr. Harrison emailed me the landlord's contact and a note that the new tenant had requested the locks changed immediately and mentioned minor floor scratches from moving boxes too fast. I knew if I did nothing, this could turn into a public mess. A mayor dealing with squatters would hit local news quickly in Miami. Brooke would play the victim, the children would be front and center, and somehow I'd still end up painted as the heartless one. So I made the call. Mayor Ruiz answered on the second ring, voice calm and direct. "This is Victor Ruiz. Mayor Ruiz, this is Jenna Graham. The apartment you're renting used to be mine." A brief pause. "Ms. Graham, I've been expecting someone to reach out. Your relatives left the premises 2 nights ago, but not before some confusion. I'm sorry about that. Brooke, my brother's wife used an old spare key without my permission. She didn't know I'd moved out. I gathered that much. Still, the situation required resolution. I understand. I got a note about lock changes and some floor damage. I'd like to cover whatever costs came up if you're open to handling it that way instead of formal action." Another pause, longer this time. I could hear papers shuffling in the background. There are new locks already installed and a cleaning crew coming for the floors. The estimate is around $800. I have no interest in pursuing anything further if the property is secure and the bill is settled. I'll take care of it today. Send the invoice to this email. Done. And Ms. Graham, one thing. I'd appreciate knowing this won't happen again. I chose that unit for privacy during the renovation. It won't. I've already asked for the spare key back from the neighbor. Good. Thank you for handling this professionally. We hung up. I transferred the money before I could second guess it. $800 to keep Brooke's mistake from becoming a legal headache. It felt like the last rope I was throwing, but also the final one I would ever throw. The family chat lit up within hours. Brooke locks changed already. How am I supposed to get our stuff if we left anything? Travis, Jen, you paid for that? You didn't even ask what happened. Mom, thank God someone stepped in. The mayor agreed not to press charges, Dad, bill taken care of. We owe you. I didn't respond. Instead, I focused on work. The conference was wrapping panels, running long networking dinners every night. Distance helped. Back in Miami, Brooke had no choice but to stay at Mom and Dad's place in the suburbs. Their house had a big backyard with tropical plants, a small pool, plenty of room on paper, perfect for children. From the updates I couldn't avoid, the reality was different. Ethan and Peyton treated the pool area like a playground from day one. Toys floated in the water, floaties left out to fade in the sun. Brooke let them run wild, saying they needed to burn energy after the trauma of being kicked out. Mom mentioned in one call that the outdoor furniture cushions were already stained from juice spills. Dad grumbled about the constant noise interrupting his retirement routine. Travis defended it all. The children were adjusting. Brooke was stressed. Everyone needed to be patient. I listened during that call, said little, then changed the subject to my work schedule. A week in, Mom called again, voice tired. The pool filter clogged yesterday. Ethan thought it was fun to throw small toys in to see if they'd disappear. I asked what Brooke said. That boys need to explore. She was on the phone with a friend. Dad took the phone then. We're managing. But the guest bathroom tiles have crayon marks now. Peyton decided the walls needed color. I stayed quiet. They weren't asking for money yet. Just venting. But I knew the pattern. Venting turned to suggestions that I should come back early, offer my new place, help find Brooke something permanent. I didn't offer anything. The $800 had bought silence from the mayor, but it hadn't bought peace at home. Brooke posted vague complaints online about unfair landlords and lack of compassion, careful not to name anyone. Travis liked everyone. Mom sent photos of Ethan and Peyton playing in the yard, captions about family pulling together. I looked at them, felt the familiar pull, then closed the app. I'd paid to keep this from getting worse, but I wasn't paying for the next part. That was on them now. A few weeks into the arrangement, Dad called, sounding exhausted. "Jenna, it's louder here than it's been in years," he said without much greeting. "Ethan and Peyton are outside from morning till dark." I was back in my new apartment by then, unpacking the last boxes after the New York trip ended. Miami heat hit different when you weren't sharing space with chaos. "What kind of loud?" I asked. "Running through the garden beds, kicking balls into the palms." Ethan climbed one of the smaller trees yesterday and snapped a branch clean off. Brooke said it's normal exploration. Dad had spent retirement turning that backyard into something he was proud of. Mango trees he'd planted himself, orchids tied to trunks. A stone path he laid one summer. Now it looked like a playground obstacle course. Peyton dragged the patio chairs into the pool to make a fort, he went on. "The cushions are ruined, mildew already setting in from being wet." I pictured the teak set Mom had picked out for their anniversary, the one they used for quiet morning coffee. "Anything else?" He sighed. "The pool wall has marker drawings now, big swirls in permanent black." Peyton said she was making art for us. Mom got on the line, then her voice tighter than usual. "It's fine, really. Children express themselves. We just need to guide them a little. Guide them." That was Mom's way of avoiding conflict. But I could hear the strain. She'd always kept the house spotless, outdoor areas included. Now toys were piled by the sliding doors, sneakers tracked sand across the tile daily. Travis called later that same day, defensive from the start. "You need to hear Brooke's side. The children have been through a lot. They're processing. Processing by destroying the garden." "It's not destroying. It's playing. Mom and Dad have all that space, they can share it. Brooke's looking for jobs, trying to get back on her feet. Cut her some slack." Slack. Another word they used a lot. I asked how Brooke was handling the messes. "She's overwhelmed," Travis said. "Single parenting, basically, even if we're married. She can't watch them every second." Overwhelmed, yet she had time to post online about needing support from family during tough transitions. A few days after that, Dad texted a photo of his wine fridge door hanging open. One of his prized bottles of vintage he'd saved for a special occasion was missing. "Found it empty by the pool," he wrote. "Ethan thought it was fancy juice." Dad didn't drink much anymore, but those bottles were his small indulgence collected over years. Mom called right after, trying to smooth it over. "It was an accident." Brooke apologized. "We'll replace it." But her voice cracked near the end. She sounded worn out, like sleep was something she remembered from another life. I asked if Brooke was helping clean up. "She's got a lot on her plate. Job interviews, school meetings for the children." We told her not to worry about it. We. Always we. Travis jumped into the group chat that night, backing Brooke again. "The children are happy here. That's what matters. Jenna, you got your peaceful place. Let them have this." I read it, felt the old pull to step in to offer solutions. Then I remembered the $800, the locks, the mayor's calm voice on the phone. This wasn't my mess to manage. Mom tried one more time a week later during a quiet evening call. "The orchids are mostly gone now. Peyton picked them to make leis. The patio table has scratches from toys being dragged across it." She paused, waiting for me to offer help. I asked how she was holding up. "I'm tired," she admitted. "But Brooke needs us right now. The children need stability. Stability built on everyone else adjusting." Travis sent a voice message after that, firm. "We're all making sacrifices. You could be more understanding." Understanding. I let the message sit unread for a day. The chaos wasn't slowing down. From the bits they shared, it was building more broken plants, more stained surfaces, more excuses. Mom still defended Brooke every time. Travis stood guard like nothing was wrong. Dad just sounded more tired with each call. And I stayed in my new place, listening from a distance. For once, the distance felt exactly right. By summer, the situation had reached breaking point again. Brooke's part-time retail job ended when the store cut hours. She told everyone it came out of nowhere, but from what Mom let slip, attendance issues played a part. Money got tight fast. Bills stacked up, school supplies for Ethan, and Peyton loomed, and Brooke started asking Mom and Dad for small advances that turned into bigger ones. Travis covered what he could, but his overtime dried up around the same time. Then Brooke met someone new, a guy named Ryan she'd connected with through a parenting group. Things moved quickly. Dinners out, weekends at the beach with the children, talks about blending families. For a while, the house felt lighter. Brooke smiled more, dressed up, left the kids with Mom and Dad for date nights. Travis didn't complain. He wanted her happy. But 3 months in, Ryan backed out. Said the responsibility of stepping into a ready-made family was more than he'd signed up for, especially with the financial strain. Brooke took it hard, stayed in her room for days, called in sick to job interviews, leaned on Mom for emotional support around the clock. The requests for money ramped up. Groceries, gas, a new phone for Ethan after his old one cracked. Dad started dipping into savings. Mom rearranged the budget, cut back on their own plans. Travis kept saying it was temporary, that Brooke would land something soon. They decided a family dinner would help clear the air. Mom invited me down, made it sound casual, barbecue by the pool, everyone together for the first time in months. I drove over on a Sunday evening, knowing casual wasn't the real agenda. The house looked different up close. Toys scattered across the driveway, chalk marks on the garage door, pool, floats piled by the gate. Inside smelled like takeout. Brooke greeted me with a quick hug, eyes red but smile forced. "Thanks for coming. We've missed you." Travis clapped me on the back too hard. "Good to see you, Jen." Mom bustled around, setting the table. Dad grilled outside. The children ran in and out, excited to show me new tricks in the pool. Dinner started, light talk about my work, Ethan and Peyton's school projects. Then Brooke steered it. "I've been applying everywhere," she said, pushing food around her plate. "But nothing's panning out yet. The market's tough." Mom nodded. "She's trying so hard." Travis jumped in. "We're all pitching in where we can, but it's adding up." Dad stayed quiet, flipping burgers through the open door. Brooke looked at me. "We were hoping you might help with some of the backlog. Just to get us over this hump." Mom added softly, "You're doing so well. It would mean a lot." Travis leaned forward. "Come on, Jen. Family looks out for each other. We've always been there for you." I set my fork down. The table went still. "I'm not covering bills this time." Brooke's face tightened. "It's not for me. It's for the children. Ethan needs new shoes for school," Mom said, "and Peyton's activities cost money." Travis's voice rose. "You paid $800 to some stranger to keep things quiet. You can't spare anything for your own niece and nephew." I kept my tone even. "That was to stop a legal mess." Brooke started. "I'm not funding the next one." Dad finally spoke from the doorway. "Jenna, we're all struggling here." "I'm not struggling," I said. "And that's because I don't take on problems that aren't mine." Brooke stood up. "So you're just going to watch us sink? I'm going to let adults handle their own finances." Travis shook his head. "You've gotten cold." Mom's eyes filled. "This isn't the daughter we raised." I pushed my chair back. "Maybe not, but I'm the one who learned boundaries matter." The children peeked in from the hallway, sensing tension. Brooke turned to them. "Go play outside." I grabbed my keys. Travis followed me to the door. "You're really walking away?" "I'm going home." Mom called after me. "Think about what you're doing to this family." I paused on the step. "I am thinking about it, and I'm choosing peace over chaos." I drove off while they stood in the driveway. The messages started before I reached the highway. "Brooke, how can you be so heartless, Travis? You just tore this family apart." "Mom, we're so disappointed." "Dad, call when you're ready to apologize." I turned the phone face down. The crises would keep coming. Jobs lost, relationships ended, money needed. But none of it was my emergency anymore. 30 days came and went faster than anyone expected. Dad had laid down the line after another big repair bill came in, this time for the air conditioning unit the children had overloaded by leaving doors open all day. He called a family meeting without me. Told Brooke she had 30 days to find a new place. No extensions. Mom backed him up for once, voice shaking but firm. Brooke promised she was looking. She showed them listings, 2 bedrooms with good schools close to Travis's job under a price she could supposedly afford once a new position started. But every option had a flaw. Too far from parks. Not enough natural light. Waiting list too long. Management company with bad reviews. The days ticked down. Travis tried to negotiate. Suggested 60 days, or Jenna helping with a deposit. Dad shut it down. Said this was about everyone needing boundaries, not just me. Brooke applied for a few apartments anyway. Got turned down on credit checks. One place approved her but required first and last month's rent, upfront money she didn't have. Mom offered to co-sign. Dad refused. Said they couldn't risk their own finances anymore. The night before the deadline, Brooke packed slowly, tears mixing with anger. She told Ethan and Peyton it was an adventure, a fresh start. Travis helped load the car, face tight. He'd been crashing on a friend's couch more often, saying the house stress was too much. When morning came, Dad stood at the door while they carried out the last bags. Brooke hugged Mom hard, promised it wouldn't be forever. Mom cried but didn't ask them to stay. They drove to a family shelter downtown first. Space was limited, rules, strict curfews, shared rooms, no guests. Brooke lasted 2 weeks. Said it felt unsafe for the children, too chaotic. She found a small 1-bedroom in a complex out past the airport, far from good schools and Travis's work. Rent was low enough for her new part-time cashier job. They moved in with second-hand furniture from online listings. Ethan and Peyton shared the living room on pull-out beds. Travis visited, at first brought groceries, stayed weekends, but the distance wore on them. Arguments over money, over schedules, over blame. One night he told Brooke he needed space, moved into his own studio closer to his job. They called it a trial separation. Said it was for the children's stability. Mom forwarded updates sometimes. Brooke struggling with bills, the children adjusting to the new school, Travis dating casually. Dad's messages were shorter. House is calm again. Repairs almost done. I read them, replied politely when needed, kept my distance. The shelter stay had been short, the new apartment basic, the separation messy. But it was real. Consequences they couldn't pass off anymore. Brooke texted once asking if I'd reconsider helping with school fees. I left it on read. Travis tried too, saying everyone was hurting and I could ease it. I didn't answer. Mom sent a longer note about how hard it was watching grandchildren in a smaller place. I wished them well. The family wasn't broken beyond repair for them. They still talked, still gathered sometimes. But my role in it was over. I'd drawn the line months ago. They'd finally stepped over one themselves. Looking back from my peaceful new apartment a few months later, the calm still felt new sometimes. The beach view outside my window was steady, waves rolling in constant rhythm. Work events filled my calendar, friends invited me out on weekends. Life moved without the constant pull of family crises. Mom and Dad's house repairs wrapped up quietly. Contractors hauled away damaged sections of the garden, replanted palms, scrubbed walls clean. The pool area got a full redo, new tiles, fresh paint, reinforced furniture that could handle real use. The total came to over $25,000. Dad mentioned it once in a curt email attaching the invoice summary. No blame aimed at me, just facts. Mom stopped calling after that. Her last message was a forwarded article about family reconciliation, highlighted lines about forgiveness being key to healing. I didn't respond. Travis reached out sporadically at first. Texts about missing me at gatherings, Questions about whether I'd seen the children lately. When I kept replies short, he shifted to accusations how my stubbornness had pushed everyone away, how Brooke was struggling alone now. I blocked his number after the third one. Brooke sent nothing. From what little filtered through mutual contacts, she was holding the apartment together on her own, picking up extra shifts, enrolling Ethan and Peyton in free after-school programs. Travis filed for separation officially. They split custody assets, the usual messy paperwork. He moved in with a coworker, started therapy to unpack years of enabling. Dad's final contact was a birthday card in the mail. Inside a note. "We respect your space, but the door's open if you change your mind." I kept the card on a shelf. Didn't write back. No contact wasn't easy at first. Holidays loomed, empty family photos on social media stung a little. But the weight lifted too, the endless guilt, the midnight calls, the expectation to fix what wasn't broken by me. Now mornings meant coffee on the balcony, no interruptions. Evenings were mine, books, runs along the shore, planning the next big event without worrying about whose emergency might derail it. I'd learned the hard way that family didn't always mean unconditional support. Sometimes it meant patterns of need that drained you dry if you let them. Boundaries weren't walls. They were doors I chose to keep open or closed. Protecting my peace wasn't selfish. It was survival. And in the calm, I finally heard myself think. If you've ever set a boundary and watched the fallout, know this: the other side gets steadier with time. Sometimes the most loving choice is walking away from what hurts. I wasn't used anymore. I was free.